Okay, so today's video is about genuine Cuban cigar. Now, this cigar was given to me as a gift. Now, when you're opening your cigar and your cigar comes in a newspaper from Cuba, and it's written in Spanish, you see this? It comes from Cuba. It doesn't get any more genuine than this. It's a real legit Cuban newspaper. They wrapped this thing in. A good friend of mine named Rob, he gave me this cigar as a gift. If you can look at the color of this cigar, this is a bespoke cigar. So they had it made at a factory in Cuba. The tip was left like this. I love it when it's like this because it burns better. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the cigar now, and I'm gonna light it up, and I'm gonna continue on my conversation. And so I have one of these guys here, cutters. They're one of the best. A friend of mine calls it the slot machine cutter because it's like a slot machine, right? So this here cigar is a pretty hefty cigar. This is probably gonna last me a good 2 hours or something because it's a fairly large cigar. The gauge is probably a 56 gauge, if not more. But this is not something that's sold at stores. So the man went to Cuba and he was visiting there. He bought this cigar. They wrapped it in a Cuban newspaper, and he brought it to me as a gift, which I really appreciate because I always appreciate Cuban cigars. And why I like the whole Cuban experience is because, and many people will testify to this, you might get a nice Dominican or a Nicaraguan cigar and get an amazing taste out of it when you're smoking it. But the difference between a Cuban and a Dominican, in my own taste, is the after the fact. After you're done smoking, is how much aftertaste do you have in your mouth, and how long does it last? How long is that feeling of having that smoke or getting that? Some people call it the ashtray mouth. How long does that whole thing last? With Cubans, 2-3 hours later, you can't even taste it in your mouth that you smoked a cigar. But with the Dominicans, they will last a long time. You get that taste. Maybe it's in your breath when you're talking to people. But the Cuban cigar, after a couple hours, you don't have any more taste anymore. It's not in your breath anymore when you're talking to somebody. So it's a whole different experience. Overall, the cigar smoking experience is it's something majestic because it gets people together that are trying to escape the everyday hassle and everyday business issues that they deal with, and they get together. And not too many guys smoke cigars on their own by themselves. They have to have a crowd of people. That's why there's these lounges, and I've met some of the most amazing people in those lounges or the local country club, at different venues where guys get together. These are all highly successful individuals who have quite a bit of pull, and they can definitely change something in their friends' lives, in their communities' lives that they're part of. So these guys are getting together. They're sharing some of their ideas. They're sharing cigars. So it's a big deal when a guy gives somebody, their local club member or something, a cigar as a gift and says, "Look, I bought this cigar. It's got a nutty flavor, or it's a woodsy flavor, it's a mild flavor, it's a full flavor." Or they're talking about, "Hey, did you have anything to eat? Did you eat something strong? Did you eat a steak? Because it makes a difference. If you're smoking a cigar after you've had a nice steak, maybe you're going to get a different taste out of that cigar versus if you had fish before, or if you were semi-hungry or whatever. you're going to get a different experience out of that cigar. So the cigar experience that's changed my life, because many years ago, when I started smoking cigars, I really didn't know what it was. It was just something trendy. I thought, some of the cool guys, they have a cigar in their mouth, but I really didn't have a taste for it. I didn't have an acquired taste because I couldn't really explain what I was feeling when I was smoking a cigar. I couldn't really explain the taste of the cigar. But years later, when I really discovered, because people would say, man, I got this great stick, it was amazing, and it tasted great. I got that label, and I'm gonna search for it, I'm gonna find it somewhere, I'm gonna buy a box of it, whatever. I was like, what's the difference? To me, at that point, they all were the same, but after maybe at least a couple years of smoking cigars, I started noticing that, I'm getting a certain flavor that attaches me to that one particular stick of a cigar, and I want to go back to it again, and I want to smoke that cigar again, and maybe that same cigar, if I smoked it at lunchtime, happened to smoke it at lunchtime, it would give me a different flavor, but if I or a different feel. But if I smoked that same cigar, maybe after dinner, after I had a nice meal, and I was sitting down and smoking that cigar, if I was maybe drinking some cognac or scotch, but I've discovered lately that drinking something that's a little sweet, you know, there's this drink called amarula, and amarula it's got an elephant picture on it. It's actual fruit, but it's like uh, it's very nutty flavor. It's beautiful. It's sweet, but it changes your whole palate. So when you're smoking the cigar with the amarula, uh, it's totally different kind of a flavor. You really, or if you have some dark chocolate, maybe with sea salt, you know, how that changes the flavor in your mouth when you're smoking that cigar. Um, it's holiday season, so I'm using this red lighter. I got this a few years ago from a good friend's shop in the valley called the Cigar House. Adwan is a good friend of mine. This is a limited edition lighter, and I only use this in the holiday season. It just, I mean, I've other lighters that I use, but this one particularly, I go to my drawer and I take out this red lighter and I use it in the holiday season. Just makes me feel better. But I'm gonna light this guy up and I'm gonna tell you exactly what it feels like in the very beginning. I'm not gonna sit here and smoke for 2 hours and have you guys stay on live, but I'll tell you what it feels like. So I'm gonna light this up, and I hope that I have many like-minded people watching me at this point and wanting to light up their own cigars and enjoy their cigars. So I'm gonna light this thing up. This is a big cigar. It's not that easy to light it up. So you're gonna, I might have maybe a couple more tries just to make sure that I have it lit properly. But I can already get a little bit of a taste. I have never smoked this particular cigar. It looks great. It looks amazing, and I'll tell you, when you look at the cigar, it might look hefty and strong and whatever, but it's got a really mild taste to it. It's got a really mild taste to it. It's really nice, but because it's the beginning of the cigar, there hasn't been any kind of taste built yet. So when you get to the to about this far in the cigar, you'll get more taste built in the cigar, and that's why you know when you would see people holding their cigar all the way to the end, and they're like, this is the best taste, I'm getting, you know, all that buildup of flavor there. So I bought a little little equipment here. See this here thing? So what this does is basically, if I have smoked the cigar and I came all the way to the end, this is a little fork. I mean, it's made by Modus, okay? And I can hold the very end of the cigar and smoke it all the way to the end if it's a good tasty cigar. And this tool here, if my cigar is plugged, I can open it up. Sometimes you get some cigars that are plugged and you got to clean it up, so it's kind of nice to unplug your cigar. So it's a nice tool, and it's got a puncher right at the tip that I can use. So it's got multiple uses, this little tool, and you see you can punch your cigar, and it's a pretty big gauge punch, you know. So some people prefer to smoke it punched, their cigars, and you know, they can use this tool for punching their cigar, and it cleans itself once you put it on. So it's a nice little tool to have. If you're a cigar smoker, it's a good tool to have, especially if you want to get that taste and be able to smoke your cigar all the way to the end. You know, then you can use something like that. But enough said about this particular cigar. The whole cigar smoking experience, I think, for gentlemen, I've said this before. This is a vacation. This particular guy over here, this is a 2-hour vacation. So I could be taking a 2-hour vacation, sit here, and ideas would come to me about my business, about my children, about some things that I was thinking about, you know, maybe while I was at work or whatever. And now with that free time that I'm enjoying this, some of the best ideas would come to me, and I would, you know, take notes on my iPhone and whatever, and then go back and try to work on them. So this is, if you're a cigar smoker, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. But to everybody who's a cigarette smoker, guys, if you can quit smoking cigarettes and get into cigars and smoke a cigar, you're not going to smoke, obviously, as many cigars as you smoke cigarettes, obviously. You might be doing this once a month, you might be doing this once a week or twice a month or whatever, but regardless, it will change your life. You will not have all the negative effects of the tar and everything else that's in your... See, tobacco is not a problem, especially this kind of tobacco, which is all organic stuff, right? The real problem is the tar that's in that white paper on your cigarette. So you're poisoning yourselves. Or those young guys that go out there and they're smoking those hookahs, you know, they're so bad, they're horrible. They cause something that's called popcorn lungs and stuff like that. And I feel so bad for our youth that thinks this is such an innocent, you know, flavored whatever experience, that hookah or these vapes and whatever these guys are using. I feel so terrible about that, because our kids are getting poisoned with something that is being fed to them for some people to go out and make a bunch of money and poison our kids and have young kids have all kinds of lung problems. I'm not suggesting that all these guys become cigar smokers, but those who absolutely must smoke, you can't give up. You know, it's better if you don't smoke anything at all, period. But if you can just smoke a cigar versus cigarettes or that vape or what do you call, or the hookah, you know what? It's better to do the cigar. First of all, it will get you in front of, if you're a younger person going into business, into a new career or whatever, this will get you in front of a lot of good people, business owners, businessmen. On the golf course, guys are smoking, businessmen. You can have nice network built around the cigar. So it's not just a smoking experience. It's got so much behind it, you know. So with that said, thank you very, very much for your attention, for being with me this morning and allowing me to have 15 minutes of your time and share this with you. Subscribe to my channel down here, and you know, if I do any other videos and whatever, you'll be notified. Thank you very, very much. Now I'm gonna let you guys go, and I'm gonna share this thing, and that's it. Thank you very, very much for your attention.